Oddsbreaker. Of course, this is Before the Bell with Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. UFC Fight Night, man. It's one of those weird things because we just had a fight night a little bit ago with Demetrius Johnson, and now we're jumping right into another one with Swanson and help me out here, Artem Lobov?
Lobov?
Lobov.
I believe
okay.
so, yep. That's how you pronounce it.
And honestly, his claim to fame really is being, talking about Lobov's claim to fame is really being Conor McGregor's friend. That's his claim to fame?
Pretty much, yeah. That's it. That's about it. I mean, he's been around for the sport for a long time, so it's not like he hasn't put his time in, his work in. I mean, he's been fighting in organizations such as Cage Warriors, and you know what I mean. So he's been fighting in some decent, organizations against okay competition outside of the UFC before he came over as well. So it's not like he was exactly an unknown fighter at all, but definitely his claim to fame now is because he is one of Conor McGregor's friends and training partners. And I mean, with Conor's stardom rising, of course, everybody else that's around him will get the kind of trickle effect. So he's definitely opened a lot of doors because of Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
But I think what's really helped him a lot, too, is pulling off the upset win in his last fight against Ishihara. A lot of people weren't expecting him to pull that off. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's barely over 500 as far as official resume goes in Lobov, and he's headlining a UFC event. So to me, it's the head scratcher. I talked about it on another podcast as well. I cannot believe they're going with this main event because of that reason alone, to be honest with you. Because Swanson, you can understand, right? Because the guy is,
fourth.
I mean, one of the best featherweights, arguably of all time. He's one up there. You know what I mean? He's respected. He's definitely a top tier competitor, and he's been for a while. But fighting a guy like Lobov, I mean, you're talking about right now. Let me look at the updated odds actually, real quick. You're talking about Swanson being a minus 750 favorite.
Yeah.
In a main event. And the
That's
comeback
crazy.
is plus 525 on Lobov. So, yeah, it is.
I'm wondering. No, I mean, I'm probably wrong. I'm trying to think if this is like a Fedor deal. Where now with McGregor, like if you want to keep McGregor in your good graces, you have to keep hiring his other training partners to make it work. So I don't want to go that far with it. But Swanson's ranked 4th right now, and then Lobov isn't ranked at all. And Swanson loses to Frankie Edgar, loses to Max Holloway, and then takes a year off. Comes back, has a year off, time off in the middle of that mess. Gets his head together, comes back in and destroys. Who's his last fight against?
Korean Superboy. That was a great fight.
And he was an underdog in that fight. Everyone thought that he was going to lose. He comes back in and he crushes his way through it. I read a report today from Cub, and he was like, "Look, I go out there and I smash him. You guys are happy. He goes out there and smashes me. It's a new star that deserves to be in the top end of the featherweight division. It's a big deal. Or the both of us go out there and swing for the fences, and it's a fight of the night." He goes, so there's really no lose. Everyone talks about how Cub has got a lot to lose because there's really nothing for him to gain by beating this guy. Doesn't move up in rankings, not a tough opponent. Obviously the odds makers are saying that you should absolutely crush this guy. It's not that much, and Cub's like, I'm just not buying into that. Like, this is a good fight. And Lobov gets better every single time that he fights. Every time he makes huge strides, every time that he fights. Do you agree with that assessment that Cub says when he watches tape on him, that Lobov is making strides every time that he fights in the UFC?
Yeah, I agree with everything he said, too. I mean, it makes sense. If he goes out there and smokes Lobov right away, then a lot of fans are probably going to be happy, you know what I mean, that he got a quick finish. If he loses to Lobov, then the UFC does definitely have a respectable addition, even despite his resume or record or whatnot, you could say in there, you know what I mean, because he has coming off a couple big wins then, you know what I mean? Or, like you said, if they swing for the fences, it will be fight of the night. So he's exactly right with all that, and I do agree with his assessment, meaning that Lobov is getting better fight by fight, because now he's getting real-time experience. I think a lot of the guys that have experienced the Ultimate Fighter show end up eventually becoming better fighters just from all the experience that they gather around that, their proper training. You know what I mean? They just take everything to another level, like as far as professionalism, becoming a better athlete, becoming a better pro. I mean, as far as diet goes, just everything about, their routine changes and it gets better. So I think that's exactly, all that stuff has made Lobov a better fighter. Now he's actually been in the UFC and he's won a couple fights as well. So he's getting more confident. Now he's also training with one of the best fighters in the world in Conor McGregor. He's gaining more confidence. He's thinking, because I'm sure you know how it is too in the gym. I mean, there's times where I'm sure people like that will probably, I know this is going to sound crazy, but they probably have their days where he legitimately probably gives Conor a little run for his money, right?
Yeah,
I would assume that in the gym, you know what I mean, that he's probably – I know, again, that sounds nuts because Conor McGregor in an actual UFC fight will smash him, but I'm saying in the gym, during training, he's probably holds his own at times against Conor McGregor. So that has to give you a little bit of confidence too. So yes, he is getting better because he's getting more confidence. He's getting more real-time experience against high-level competition. I agree with it.
So now with that being said, though, how does Lobov win?
I don't know, man. I really don't know.
I don't see any way that he can win this. I really honestly don't. He's according to UFC.com, Cub Swanson has a 70-inch reach, and Lobov has a 65-inch reach. And Cub punches very long and very straight, while Lobov punches very short, very choppy, very, very square, very hooky. So when you're talking about a 70-inch versus a 65-inch, it's going to be even more disparaging because your arms are short. You're not throwing anything super long. Where Cub throws things long, you can be way outside your range and you get tagged up quite a bit. So he doesn't beat him on the feet. The ground game, Cub's really good off his back compared to Artem, and he's amazingly good on top if he takes him down. So he doesn't beat him on the ground. He can't stop his takedowns. He can't take Cub down, in my opinion. Really, where does this fight go? It's just kind of like Cub's just got to find his time to take advantage of it, as opposed to, and don't rush, don't get caught in the early melee that Artem's going to come out with and try to swing hard and heavy in the very beginning. Just kind of maintain it slow. But other than Cub slipping and falling and making a mistake, I don't see Artem at all being able to win this fight. Am I wrong in that assessment?
You're 100% right. Everything you just said there is exactly accurate. I mean, he's got a puncher's chance because everybody does, right? Especially at that level in the UFC, always got a puncher's chance. But that's about it. I mean, I really don't think, unless he puts all sorts of pressure on Cub, and Cub just backpedals, and the referees, or the judges, I should say, favor that forward pressure the entire time, and just Cub has a really off day, I guess he could maybe win on the cards, but I think he's only got a puncher's chance because, like you said, Cub's a better striker, Cub's a better wrestler, Cub's a better jiu-jitsu artist. I mean, Cub has the check marks across the board. There's nothing that Lobov does better. Minus, I mean, he is a tough guy. I mean, as far as heart goes, I mean, both of them have the heart and the toughness. They're not quitters, you know what I mean? So Lobov isn't just going to sit there and quit. So he's going to come to fight, and he's going to try his best to win. So, I mean, maybe an off day from Cub, it could happen, but I don't see it. I mean, I really don't see it happening. I think the Cub probably rolls in this fight like he should.
So if you take a look at my interview here on MMA Oddsbreaker with Cub Swanson, I did just 2 days ago. I got him when he first got into Nashville. He's way lighter than he normally is coming in for a fight. And I asked him why. And he was like, because it's a 5-round fight. I don't want to have the extra 5 pounds. That he could easily dehydrate himself the extra 5 pounds to make weight like he normally does. He wanted to have his weight solid and be 5 pounds less when he showed up because he doesn't want to have it affect his ability to come 4th and 5th round. When I was competing, I didn't really believe this was a factor. But now that I'm reffing and I'm actually the third person inside the cage, I'm looking at it, I'm watching guys on paper who are amazingly good, amazingly strong, incredible athletes on paper. They get into the fight, they get in the middle of the second round, start hitting the third round, and I'm going, oh yeah, this guy cut too much weight. I can see it. He's starting to fall apart. He's really starting to fall apart from cutting too much weight. I think Cub has got that position, got that mentality of get my diet down a lot stronger, a lot quicker. And in Artem, I don't think he's there yet. I just don't think he's gotten that smart way. I think he's still one of those situations where, don't worry, I can cut the 15 pounds. Don't worry, I can cut the 18 pounds. Or I'm just saying a number. I have no idea what he cuts water weight-wise when he shows up for a fight. And then, don't worry, I'll be okay. I'll come back and do it. And the reason why I say it, and I don't know, I don't hang out with the guy. I'm not in his training camp. We don't speak. But the reason why I believe that is I'm looking at his record of 14 and 12. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at that record of 14-12 and 2-2 in the UFC, and as a result, that tells me he's not a guy that's smart and scientific about how he cuts weight and how he approaches the diet portion of the fight game. He is tough. He will not go away. There is no quit in him. He is not going to stop, but he's not smart about how he gets into it. That's why I'm saying Cubs is going to have to wait and find his spot. It's going to be sometime in the third round when that weight cut all of a sudden starts showing up. You can't keep your hands up anymore. You're trying to keep, but they just won't stay up. You're trying to keep your head moving. It just won't move anymore. Your brain is telling you, move, get out of the way. This is going to happen, but you're just that little split second behind of it, and that's when you start getting cracked more. And that's really how I see this fight going down.
Yeah, I could see it going that way as well. I mean, like I said, I just think it's probably going to be a pretty clear type of, outcome. I think Cub obviously finishes him as well as the fight progresses, probably in around that time, maybe in the third round, maybe second round. Depends. I mean, we'll see how head and shoulders he really is above him. I mean, if he could go out there and smoke him in round one, though, too, obviously. I mean, it could happen, but I think it's more reality is what you just said there, that maybe late second round, middle third round, somewhere like that, the fight probably ends in favor of Cub Swanson. If it's a scorecards, if it goes 5, I'll be a little surprised, but I think Cub Swanson will obviously get the cards as well. So this is a tough one to bet. I would just stay away from it. There's no way I would lay Cub. I mean, there's 7-1. He's going to probably win, but I still wouldn't touch it. You know what I mean? There's no value at all there. So just skip it. And unfortunately, the good thing is there's a lot more fights ahead this year. You know what I mean? With UFC, even this weekend, there's a ton of fights. So you don't have to bet that fight for sure.
Okay, let's move on to the co-main event. I know, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing reverse order, but we got just hooked up on that Cub fight. Yeah. We just couldn't let it go. Iaquinta versus Diego Sanchez. Number 14, Alain Quinta versus Diego Sanchez, unranked. Obviously, everyone knows the nightmare, and now he's the Lionheart or the whatever he changed his nickname to. Who cares? I love Diego, great guy. I think he trains hard. I think he does well. Another one of those fights where he's severely outmatched. I don't know what the line is, but I got to think that Iaquinta is way ahead of him in the line, and Diego just doesn't have it anymore. He's been in too many wars, too many battles, and honestly, at the end of the day, he's just really not that athletic. So as a result, he just doesn't have the ability to be able to be in these fights like he should. But man, he's got great heart. We're talking about Artem having great heart. Diego's heart is 5 times the size, and there is no quit in Diego. You can literally cut his arm off. He'll beat you up to get his arm back from you and then try to beat you to death with his own arm. Like this, he's just that kind of guy. He is an amazing competitor, heart-wise, and he's always in great shape, but skill level-wise, just Al Iaquinta is just better all around. Is the line just as bad as it is in the main event?
Not quite, but it's up there as well. Right now it's minus 420 for Iaquinta, and Sanchez is plus 335. So it's not often you see Diego Sanchez around plus 300. Yeah. So that tells you something. Yeah, stylistically, it's not really a good fight for him. And what you just said is true as well. I mean, he is definitely on the decline part of his career. The guy's a warrior, though, and he has been. I mean, there's nothing – you can't say anything negative about him because, I mean, he's been fighting for so long. I mean, he was the original Ultimate Fighter winner for crying out loud. That's crazy, right? And he's still relevant, and he's still competing, and he's still getting wins. This is the thing. Even though he hit that decline spot, he has a recent win over a solid guy in the lightweight division, and that was over Marcin Held. Yeah. I mean, Held is a pretty good fighder, you know what I mean? And he managed to legitimately get a decision win over him. So he's still relevant enough, I think, that, you know, and the name that carries along with it and stuff like that I understand. I mean, he can still win some fights, but Al Iaquinta should be faster. His stand-up is going to be a lot better than Diego. Diego eats a lot of punches as it is, and with all the war and like the wear and tear on his body, like you said, he's not going to be able to keep absorbing that kind of punishment. I mean, it's something's going to give, and it probably happens this fight. I think Iaquinta probably goes out there and knocks him out, to be honest with you, because he's got the takedown defense where he should be able to keep it upright. So Diego's wrestling shouldn't really be a big factor here. Although if Al makes a mistake, and he tends to do that sometimes, that's what the issue I have with Al Iaquinta. Man, I mean, he'll be cruising in fights sometimes, and then just one random mistake or, you know, one lack of concentration or something like that, and bam, he's been submitted winning fights before as well. Yeah. So I think that Diego, that's his chance to win right there, is like maybe take his back in a scramble or something up against a cage where he can climb up his back or something to that nature, and then maybe he can sink in a rear naked choke and beat him. Outside of that, I don't think Diego's going to win a decision, even though Diego's had some favorable decisions go his way that shouldn't have in the past, so you never know with him. But because of, judges just like his relentless style. So even if he's eating punches and coming forward like a zombie sometimes, some judges like that. You know what I mean? The guy that gets beat up sometimes gets the scorecards in his favor, which it shouldn't be that way. But
used to happen with Clay Guida all the time because of his hair. His hair was all over the place, and he'd be out there fighting, and all the judges were like, oh yeah, Clay did so much more action. I go, yeah, he was just running into punches. He was just getting smashed. And what are you doing? Oh, well, here it is. So I got to ask, because right now we're having and I should know this, I didn't look it up. We're having an issue right now with the new rules of judging and the new rules at MMA for a downed opponent, clavicle grabs and fingers and all that. If Nashville is using the old rules that they judged by, Diego's got a better chance of winning a decision than you actually think because of the way the old rules worked and the way that Diego fights. The new rules are all about damage. So it's like if you get lit up, which Al is going to light him up, there's no question. It doesn't matter how much action you have, how much movement you have outside the pocket, how much jerking around, and how crazy you are moving forward, and what you look like. Like, none of that counts anymore. It's all how much damage you actually do when you hit him. Hit him with 1,000 jabs, doesn't matter. Hit him with 2 crosses, you win the round. That's just the way it works. And so I don't know what Tennessee is doing with the new rules. Did they adopt them or did they not adopt them? And that also comes into a factor now where at this point in time, you have to fight your opponent. You've got to fight the referee because you've got to kind of know what the referee is going to do as well. But then you also have to fight the judges because you're not sure what's going to happen now with a lot of these judges and a lot of these new jurisdictions and commissions. What are they actually doing with the rules? Do you know what rules that they're going to use in Tennessee?
Offhand, I do not. But you know what? This is going to sound kind of crazy, but it doesn't matter to me. Okay. And I'm saying that because the judges, even if they do have the new rules in place, I mean, the guys couldn't score under the old rules. So to me, I'm not confident at all that they're going to. It doesn't matter. You can put these rules in front of them. I mean, let's face it. These guys, I guess I got to disrespect them a little bit. A lot of them are idiots with their scorecards, man. I mean, they're really bad. They can't score fights properly. A lot of the judges are.
I would say this, except for California and Nevada, where they have done a complete cleanup and said, look, you're either going to go back and start and take more classes and learn how to judge with these new rules that are about to get implemented. Like before the rules were even activated, they made everyone go back, refs included, made us all go back and take classes. Other than California and Nevada, I got to kind of agree with you. There have been some issues right now with the judging and the reffing.
And it's been like that for a while. You know, and it's not going to get better.
No.
And it's frustrating. And you know what? Especially in our line of work, like in the gambling industry out there, like the guys that are listening to this show or they like to bet on fights or whatnot too. It's harsh on those guys, man. It's harsh on all of us because I don't know how many times, you know, you're on the right side of a fight, you found extreme value in a fight, and those guys blow it. I mean, they absolutely blow it. Everybody, all the media scores it one way. All the MMA community scores it one way. But those 3 chairs that are there, 2 of the 3 score it the opposite way. So there's something wrong there, and it's not going to change. So that's why I don't think it has an impact. It should. What you're saying should matter absolutely 100%. Like state by state, if they're adapting the new rules or not, or, you know what I mean, it will definitely eventually, hopefully, have a real impact. But as of right now, I mean, there's just so many bad scoring judging out there, you know, per event that goes on, that I'm not confident that you could put the rules right in front of them and say that, and they're still not going to follow them. They're still going to do their own thing. They're still lost in their own world. I think most of them are looking at the ring rules more than they're looking at the fight, it seems like sometimes. And yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated by this, all that, because I see it every week. I see them blowing fights every week, and it's not going to get better. And I think, honestly, with the new rule changes, I think it's going to be more of a mess. Because some guys are still probably going to be thinking they scored like the old style. Some of them are going to try too hard to score. You know, I got to give. Maybe I'm not giving the commissions enough credit because, like you said, they should pull them aside and say, okay, this is what's going on. They should organize them, have everybody on the same page, so they know what kind of rules or how they're supposed to be scoring stuff. But it's amazing to me how it doesn't work.
I'm licensed as a pro in California and in Hawaii to do pro MMA events at this current time, and it could change within the next couple of weeks where I get more because I'm getting other promotions that want me to bring me out to ref their undercards in different spots. So I can only speak to Andy Foster. That's the only way I can speak about because he's the commissioner that I know. Andy texts me at least twice a week, like he does every single one of the refs and every single one of the judges underneath his jurisdiction, and gives us the news that he's about to release on like weight cutting and weight management and that stuff that was coming out from California Commission, but also asking us generalized questions. Here's a quick video snippet. How would you score this? Just like randomly just throws it at you. Just score it this way, how you see it right here. And he sends me a score, and he'll go back and go, why? And you're like, oh, did I fuck up? Did I just mess up? Did I just screw up? And you're like, no, I just want to know why you scored that way. Just tell me what you scored. Okay, so you tell him the reasons. He goes, okay, and then he'll make a correction. If you're in trouble, if you're wrong, John McCarthy, the next 45 minutes, calls you and goes, just so you know, that wasn't right. You're like, oh, what did I do wrong? So it's like there's a checks and balances now. It's continual education all the time. But like I said, I can only speak to Andy Foster. So I know that the California Commission, and I know about the Nevada Commission because John and I talk about it quite a bit. Because I keep asking, when can I apply for my pro license in Nevada? When should I apply? He's like, just relax. You're not there yet. You got to slow down. Like, just wait a minute. And so he's like, they're doing the same, not the same thing, but they're also holding the refs and their judges to a standard. So it's going to get better because the UFC is not going to keep going to New York if New York keeps screwing up. The UFC is not going to keep going to Tennessee if Tennessee continually screws up. They're not going to keep going to Texas if Texas continues to screw up. So what's going to happen is they'll pull people out of it. And they're just like, we're going to give you a fight night instead of giving you a pay-per-view, which is, it's from a revenue standpoint, it's way less. It's a smaller venue. It's less ticket sales. There's no money for the pay-per-view. It's a totally different ballgame that works for these commissions. So they want, every commission 100% wants a huge pay-per-view like not Bellator, but like the UFC, a huge television deal, pay-per-view deal in their state every month. That's what they want. The secondary is we'll take a Bellator or a UFC fight night. We'll take those two things once a month in our state. That's going to keep our coffers rich because a lot of money has to be paid into the commissions. If you don't get those, it kind of hurts. It really does hurt, and it says a lot about you if they're not coming back. I got to tell you, Nick, I think it's going to get better. I know you don't believe me. I don't think it's going to get better. It's just going to take some time. It's like everything else. Remember, people forget the commissions are not athletic. They're not gyms. We just go in there and make a decision, and we're going to change it right now and have a new rule. It's going to work. They're government entities. They're run by the government, and government is slow and it's hard. Yeah. California is just one of the rare ones where they're like the whatever MMA commissioner says, whatever the boxing commissioner says, that's it. It's installed. They don't have to worry about voting and trying to get all this stuff together. And believe me, they ask other people. They talk to other people like, is this what we do? Is this how it should work? Okay, you agree? You agree? Good, done. starting tomorrow morning at midnight or starting tomorrow at midnight. It's a rule. That's what it is. You're like, oh, okay. I guess I better catch up and figure out the rules are because they just changed on me. And that's just how it goes. But it's going to get better. But I do.
Well, that's promising. I am glad that you're saying that stuff because that is promising. And I don't think it's as big of an issue with the referees though as it is a judging.
No.
I mean, the referees. Don't get me wrong. Referees make a mistake. At times it does happen and it does impact a fight, but I don't see it as frequently as I do the judging. The judging is the worst part of that's the hardest part about betting MMA, honestly, is judging because you don't know even. There's been clear-cut unanimous decisions that I know they can't mess up, and they've messed up.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that bothers me completely because those guys say it should be 30-27 one way, right? Yeah. 30-27 scorecard, meaning a guy won all 3 rounds. How on earth could you give a split decision the other way? Those guys that gave that decision the other way should get pulled from the card, immediately. They shouldn't even be allowed to judge the next fight. They should get pulled for the card, replace them with the guy that might not have been judging, yet. Yeah. Just get a guy from, just swap them out, put those guys on the side, and then maybe that next week they have to go to a class. Or, I don't know. Again, I'm just talking, I don't know about this stuff, so I'm just talking pulling stuff out of thin air. Just my mind kind of working.
It's funny from a referee standpoint. I don't know if this works in judging, but from a referee standpoint, John has told me, he's like, if you have a bad night, you will get sat down, and we will replace you with other people that night, and you'll be put to the pit on the fights you're supposed to be actually in the ring. You get put out and have to do the check-in, and that's just the way it's going to work. Because as a referee, it's the mistakes we've seen as of late with referees. The few mistakes we've seen have been guys in the wrong position, can't see a finish. In the wrong position when the bell is ringing. They're positional problems. They're not mechanical problems. They're not like this guy doesn't know how to start it, doesn't know how to stop it, doesn't know how to break it, doesn't know. It's not that. It's positional problems, which is human error because we have to move around. We have to get in different positions. The judges sometimes make those mistakes. Remember, the judge can only judge on what he or she sees, not what they think is actually happening. So, their position might be blocked. You might, if my back is to you the entire time, and you see me throwing punches, but you can't see that my opponent getting hit, you don't know what's actually happening. So it's you can't really judge on it. So that's the only excuse you can kind of give. But the reason why the refereeing got so much better so quickly is because it became mechanical. When you have guys like Mike Beltran, Jason Herzog, John McCarthy, that are in every jurisdiction throughout the entire country, and they're coming into your jurisdiction. And they're getting the main event and they're getting the co-main event, but you're the local guy that's got 15,000 matches. But you're like, well, John McCarthy just came to my region, to my commission, and he got the main event and I got the swing bout. How did that work? And Herzog got the co-main event. Herb Dean got the co-main event. How is this working? It's because my mechanics aren't correct. Let me fix my mechanics. So the refs have a position where no, this better judge is coming in town, or this better ref is coming in town. He's going to show you how it's done, and this is the reason why. You better catch up to him, or you're going to get left behind. So that's why the reffing got so much better, so much quicker. Where the judging doesn't happen like that. They're not bringing judges in from other areas, and the judges, this guy judged it this way. Well, I judge it the opposite way, but the other guy judged it the opposite way too. The two guys from my jurisdiction judged it one way. The guy from the other jurisdiction judged it another way. We must be right. It's that whole thing goes on. So that's why it takes a little longer for judging. But it'll get there. Yeah. It'll get there.
I don't know. I'm not confident that it will get there, to be honest with you, because I think there has to be a whip cracked, man. There has to be somebody coming in there saying, look, I don't know how you scored this fight this way, but you're not going to score the next one that way. Let me tell you, until you learn your job, because you cannot go back out there because you're impacting the fighter's bonuses, the fighter's livelihood. These guys bust. I mean, you've been in it, man. It's hard, especially right now. They're starting to finally make some good money, right? Yeah. You guys, the OGs in the game, you, Hughes, all those guys. I mean, you guys made a little bit of money along the way for sure, but I mean, if you guys were in right now, you imagine what kind of, if you guys were in your primes now, I'm sure everything you would be making a lot more money than you made back then.
Way more.
Especially with marketability, everything that comes into play. The characters, you guys were, popular, it would have been a whole nother level now. So, I don't know. It is frustrating with all that stuff because when the judges get it wrong, you're taking money out of that guy's win bonus out of that guy's pocket. You're taking all the, it's unfair to everybody. And again, we're covering the sport from a gambling aspect. So for the gamblers out there, they get frustrated, or something happens and a fight gets overturned later on down the road, because of either a ref error or judging. Something happens, they don't get their money back. And now it's fair because it works both ways. So it's not like they pick and choose which fights that happens with. You know what I mean? The result that day is what happens. So if something gets overturned, win or lose, whatever the fact may be for the sports book, it gets overturned later on. It doesn't matter. It's that night. The result that happens is what you base it on, and it's been that way for a long time. So it's not like it's an unfair rule, but it does impact them. And so I am frustrated. That's the number one. thing I think that makes me mad week to week is just seeing so many awful judges get away with their scoring, and then a couple cards later I see them back doing the same stuff. Same stuff again. In fact, I have a couple ideas of how we can maybe help the MMA industry with all this stuff, and we'll see. I mean, down the road, like I said, we have some things in plan that I think we might be able to make some things work out, like as far as putting them under the spotlight a little bit more, making them, you know what I mean, like own up to. Yeah. We have a website, we have a popular place where we can definitely put them on blast sometimes if they do give bad scoring or whatnot too. So that's going to be coming down the road as well. I don't want to get into too much detail with it now, but they deserve it. If somebody scores a fight right, kudos to them. You did a great job. They should deserve that respect. Like, you scored it right. It was a tough fight. You did well. But if a guy that scored a completely wrong fight that everybody knows that scored a fight, he should be called out on it, honestly. And that's just the way I feel about it. So I'm sorry. I know we got off track about this, but I think there was a lot of conversation, right?
Yeah, we can do another whole hour just on this thing.
Yeah, good, realistically.
So I just want to ask you about 2 more fights. Just give me the line and give me your pick on these 2 other fights. The start of the pay-per-view card with Ellenberger and Perry. What's the line and who's your pick?
Right now, the current line is Mike Perry minus 175 and Ellenberger's plus 155. So Perry's a slight favorite. I opened him about that spot. It was like 185, and the line margins have tightened up a little bit since. So there's been some two-way action coming in on this fight as well. I picked Mike Perry because, I mean, Ellenberger, in his prime, Ellenberger would win his fight. I don't think there's a question he would win this fight. I mean, and he still could win this fight now because he still has, power in his hands for sure that he can end it. I just think that Perry's a little bit, like, especially in MMA years, he's a younger, fresher fighter. I think he's going to be the one maybe getting a solid win on his resume and kind of moving up the ranks a little bit more from that. So I do think he's just a little bit ahead of Ellenberger right now. I think he's a little bit more durable. I think his cardio's a little bit better. So I just think he's just slightly ahead of Ellenberger in 2017, let's put it that way. But again, a couple years back, no question Ellenberger win that fight. And I'm a big Jake Ellenberger fan too, so I hope I'm wrong. This is one case where I hope that Ellenberger goes out there and, gets the W here, because I would like to see, it's always good seeing guys Ellenberger's been around for a long time, dating IFL days, before IFL, even sport fight or whatever the case may be. He's been around for a long, long time. So he's definitely another one of those OGs, I think, that, has impacted the sport in a positive way throughout his career. So I hope that he can stay relevant and keep his job with coming out to win. But my head says he probably will lose the fight. So.
All right, fair enough. And then the last one I talked about is the main event of the Fox Sports 2 prelims, Leites and Alvey.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. And again, a couple years ago might not have been that tough, because you would say Leites is far ahead of him, you know what I mean? Especially with like the progression he's made in his striking. I think even Leites' striking right now is not anything that you can laugh at, you know what I mean? He's dangerous on the feet as well, but obviously we know Leites' game is a ground. But can he take Alvey down? I don't know. It's going to be hard for him to do that, right? I don't think he's going to have a ton of success taking Alvey down. So I think we're probably going to see like a back-and-forth stand-up type of battle, or a lot of cage clinching along, you know what I mean? Like trying to just control the person up against the cage. So I'm slightly leaning towards Leites, because I think he just has a more well-rounded game. But, man, Alvey has more knockout power. He's definitely got the toughness. I like the fact that his fight IQ overall at times is pretty good, even pre-fight IQ. If you talk to him in your interviews, he knows his opponents well. He studies film. He comes up with a good game plan. All that stuff goes a long way for Alvey. So he knows what to look for in Leites, and I'm sure he's going to be game. I think it's a coin flip type of fight. I could see Alvey winning it. I can see Leites winning it, but that's why it's kind of a pick-em right now. It's actually minus 125 Leites, Alvey's at plus 105. And again, a similar spot where I opened it. So I think it's about right. So slightly in towards Leites, but I don't know, man. I mean, I could see Alvey winning too. So it's a tough one for me.
All right, that's it for today, man. I'll keep talking about all these fights all day long. There's so much stuff going on. It's crazy. Thanks for covering those last 2. I just want to get a quick snippet on them, because I just wanted to find out which way you were leaning on these 2 things. One, obviously, because both Ellenberger and Alvey are friends of mine, and so I just wanted to see where the lines were at and what they were doing, and that's why I also didn't give my opinion on either one. I wanted to leave it alone. They're like, hey, they're buddies of mine. So of course everyone knows I'm going to lay where I'm going to go. Like everyone knows I'm picking Ellenberger, and everyone knows I'm picking Alvey because they're friends of mine. So I just wanted to. Yeah, but
and not bad. I mean, especially because there are dogs out there too, so not bad, and they could definitely win. They're winnable fights for both. So yep. Yeah,
I just want to hope both guys have great fights and come out not too hurt. Everyone gets hurt during a fight, no matter what. You're getting punched in the face, but I just hope it's not too bad.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today here on MMA Oddsbreaker. This is Before the Bell. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg, and we'll definitely be seeing you next week.